I mentioned, right, the two products that we feel can scale from India for the world are could be samosa or a biryani. See the number of samosas people eat outside India. 140 countries we export samosas to. So everywhere you go, you right from Michelin star restaurant to a roadside place, samosa is recognized.
And I guess one of your things that got really viral
Uh-huh.
was this branded samosa, right? Something that people were raving about.
Yeah.
Whose idea was this, right? To really
The
stamp.
engineer in the team.
Hey everyone, my name is Rahul and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Crest, where we are helping brands in helping them not go out of stock and by making sure that their customers are always loving them, they are getting their products in time and in full whenever they need it, whenever they require it. Today I have with me founders of Samosa Party, which is the first and the largest samosa brand, and they have a very interesting story. I'm sure we are all gonna learn a lot from this story, from their story as well, right? So without further ado, let me just welcome Diksha and Amit. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, I request you to introduce yourself, very quick introduction, and I just want to kind of keep it very conversational, very non-formal. So let's just keep it like this thing. Diksha, over to you.
Sure. So, hi, I'm Diksha. I'm the co-founder of Samosa Party. I've always been a very passionate foodie, spent about 15 plus years in the food and beverage business by now, starting from luxury hotels where I worked with the Oberoi Group for about 10 years. I was heading food and beverage operations across different luxury hotels. So, got a good view of, what luxury consumers desire in curated F&B experiences. After that, I joined the QSR world. So, worked with a couple of brands like Pizza Hut, KFC, then Chai Point more recently, and figured, what is it that India really wants from their going out experiences? What is it that is the need of how can you create a brand which touches many more lives? Hotels are very niche; they're very satisfying to work in those environments, but always wanted to do something which would touch many more lives. Food for me personally, why I'm in this business is it makes people happy, it brings people together. So with for the joy of bringing people together over great food is why I joined Amit's mission of taking samosas global.
Hi, so I'm Amit. So unlike Diksha, I don't come from food background. I don't have any expertise in food, but I love food. I've grown up in Indore. I feel having the best street food our country has to offer. But like a typical engineer, I did my BTech in computer science and wanted to do something else in my life. And always most of us have a dream कि किसी दिन restaurant खोलेंगे. With just that simple dream, I started Samosa Party. The idea was in a country like India, we have such a rich heritage of fast food and street food. But still, if you think of fast food in a country like India, you think of pizzas, burger, French fries, fried chicken, so on and so forth. While our food remained street food or pedestrian in nature, right? So the idea was, why don't we create a truly Indian QSR, that can not just scale in India, but can scale across the world.
One of the things that I really admire about great founders is especially this thought of uh, creating impact in everyone's life, right? And something that I definitely see in the two of you, right? I mean, to be honest, I'm sure everyone has uh, been around samosas their entire life, right? Be it onion patti here in South India, or be it a typical Punjabi aloo samosas in Delhi, right? But all of us have lived with samosas and grown up with samosas all our life. But I'm always surprised knowing this thing, that why until Samosa Party, why wasn't there a samosa brand? I'm sure, I mean, Haldiram's tried it. They all had these packed samosas, but they were all very dry fruit samosas, right? Very, let's say, on the shelf kind of thing. Wow, what is different about Samosa Party? Why is it that in 2018-19 that you guys were able to kind of really crack it and create a brand out of it?
Right. So I think first and foremost, Rahul, samosas are everywhere. You are right. India itself consumes close to 60 million samosas every single day. Right. That's a huge statistic. 60 million of
Wow.
any other out of home product you can't imagine, except maybe, chai or in certain
There is
cases,
one in every four in I mean 10 Indian who is having a
she's eating a
samosa.
samosa, right? And it's being consumed across meal periods. People eat samosas for breakfast. They eat it as a, midday meal in a lot of places. They would eat it as a snack and so on and so forth. So we saw that, this is the most ubiquitous sort of a product which is the original snack of India, right? And yet it was not available in a branded format. So what happened is that, about 30 years ago, when the fast food chains or the American giants in fast food space, when they came to India, they came with them the idea of this is what fast food should look like. And they, because of their marketing muscle, the ability to capture the imagination of a nation that India is, which has always been very impressed with ye imported hai, ye foreign hai, ye American hai, right? So with that whole idea of the American good life, I'm eating a pizza, I'm watching an English show on TV, I'm living a good life, right? That's the idea which was inculcated into Indians. Interestingly though, even the products that they were selling, they had to Indianize them in flavor.
Right.
So everybody had to add,
Paneer into
garlic,
it.
paneer.
Yep.
They had to add jeera masala, garam masala. Don't ask me. Like the
Tandoori
list is
sauce,
yeah,
makhani
tandoori
sauce.
sauce, makhni sauce.
True.
All these are India-specific
Yes.
innovations, right? Even things like your aloo tikki burgers. What is it?
Correct.
It's aloo masala and peas, and it has the green mint mayo, which is basically the construct of a samosa.
You don't have a aloo tikki burger anywhere outside.
Anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
So while they are trying to market this in a very American fast food way, but Indians' palate was only accepting food that is very close to them. And nobody started something like this because scaling it is hard. And we can vouch for it, having scaled it to the degree that we have, and a long way to go. But scaling something like samosas or anything that requires skill is hard. So that is why nobody went this route. I think in the last 30 years, the ecosystem that some of the bigger brands have set up for pizzas, burgers, tacos, waffles, and so on, it's become a plug and play. So anyone who wants to start a restaurant or a QSR business, it's very easy for them to find 10 suppliers who will give you all the raw material, all the templates, everything that you require for pizza, burger, waffle, taco. And therefore, that has been scaling that easily. In our business, we've had to build everything ground up, from manufacturing to distribution and so on. And that is where I think, it required somebody really committed to the cause to get into it.
Also, customers have changed. 20 years back, if somebody started a samosa business, customers would not have liked it or would not have taken it the way they have taken it now. Today's customer is equally confident of flaunting a cup of chai as he's confident of flaunting a Starbucks coffee. So customers are more secure about their own heritage, their own roots. They are equally confident of eating a idli on a roadside as they much in a Michelin star restaurant. So the time was right, I believe. People have tried. There have been brands that have tried to create, and not small players, big players have tried to create brands on samosas and chai, but they could not. I think the timing was not right.
Do you think probably, for example, one of the most popular examples of this was, for example, Bhujia, Haldiram's,
Yeah.
right? One of the most successful stories, right? The way, for example, Haldiram's created their juggernaut that they are today, right? With just a modest Bhujia business started in Chandni Chowk, if I remember it correctly, right? Do you think it has anything to do with, for example, the product, right? The lastness, the shelf life of that product, or the distribution, right? Or what do you think was the difference? I'm sure the timing is definitely there, that the uh, 10 years before today or 20 years before today, samosas which were, let's say, you could have gotten a samosa in 2 rupees and unit economics wouldn't have made sense back then, right? But do you think while that was true, while India was growing, the GDP was growing, the per capita was growing, right? Do you think there was anything around also the way people are approaching product and the way you guys approached product,
100%.
right?
I think everything starts, number one, from product. To give you a context about Haldiram and Bhujia also, if I compare, right? The product was, number one, very good, very superior. Also, the product was aspirational in the sense where everybody is selling you loose Bhujia and Namkeen. They started packaged Namkeen, branded Bhujia, branded product. So same way in any category, right? Aspirational counts. If you are even selling a small, simple product like a cup of chai or a piece of samosa also, you have to make it aspirational in today's world, today's scenario. I think that is what that we feel we have done it slightly right, because today's customers, we talk to a lot of millennials and Gen Z as far as our brand is concerned. They don't want to eat a samosa on the roadside on a piece of paper with a two types of chutney, right? So the products like we have samosa buckets. We have different types and varieties of samosa. We have a corn and cheese samosa, which is very cheesy, gooey. We have uh, Afghani chicken samosa, which is very traditional in nature. We have classics like mutton keema samosa. So each and every individual can relate to the product, and over a period of time, they choose their own,
something they love.
find their own product which they love.
Interesting. Diksha, I mean, you have a ton of experience. Like I must say, like you've been at early team in Pizza Hut, early team of Chai Point, right? And you've long history in hospitality as well, right? What inspirations have helped you kind of that you've drawn from working at such, let's say, legends in their own right, right? In let's say creating Samosa Party, what it is today.
So, first and foremost thing which is very, very clear now is that, customers are the same everywhere. Okay, whether it is somebody who's paying you, 10,000 rupees for a meal, or somebody who's buying something from you for 50 rupees at Samosa Party, the customer's expectations do not change because of what he's paying you. Everybody wants great value for his money, and everybody wants a great experience, irrespective of where that experience is being given, right? People are unforgiving, especially in a category like food. It's a very high trust category, right? So they're very unforgiving. Even if it's sasta hai to kuch bhi chalega is not the principle. So I think the first and foremost thing that I learned transitioning from luxury F&B to going to mass premium, then mass, and today we do a mass premium brand, was that consumers are always going to be demanding irrespective of what they pay you. So if you start and you think from that lens, right, that can I still give them a 5-star experience and at a 3-star or a 2-star price? If you keep that as a principle, whenever you're designing your products, you're designing your packaging, your delivery experience, if that's the principle you follow, I think you're set up for success in a country like ours, where consumers are value conscious. At the same time, they want everything, right, in a good price point.
One question that I'm sure everyone, while you quote that there are 6 crores or 60 million samosas that are sold every day in India, right? How much are you selling today? I know that's a mind-boggling number in its own self, right? But I want users to
It's
like
a very
listen.
small number. Yeah, we are just selling 35,000 samosas per day. Very small number.
I wonder if there is, let's say, a known halwai sitting in a corner and comes across this video, right? And they hear this number. कि यार 35,000 समोसे कैसे कोई बेच सकता है एक दिन में बना कैसे सकता है कोई
I think बिक सकते हैं.
बिक रहा है I mean that's not a question at all.
So, demand is not a problem. In products like these, it has always been supply. And where we have sort of excelled is, being able to tap that supply, being able to create a system to produce that quantity at scale in great quality, right? In great condition, it reaching the customer. So the more access points we open, the more outlets we open, we see there is more and more demand. There are people who write to us on LinkedIn, emails, social media, everywhere saying, open in my city, open in my city. There's a lot of demand here. So, samosa mein demand ki problem nahi hai. Supply is the issue. So, that is what we've been able to solve for.
Still a 35,000 number.
It's a very, very small number.
Small number.
It is a
huh?
small number compared to, of course, the potential.
Yeah.
Of course.
6 crores versus 35,000 is a very small
It's a
number.
very small
But someone who is doing even 500 in a day,
Yeah.
right, versus 35,000, that number is mind-boggling, and I'm not kidding you, right? Apart from let's say Janta in the startup ecosystem, who let's say know of Samosa Party, if and I'm not kidding you, like I've been a fan of Samosa Party probably pre-COVID, to be honest, right? And I'm not kidding you, especially during COVID, I used to order it every second evening, right? This had become my go-to snack in the evening without even knowing. For example, you guys as founders as well, I genuinely loved it. And when I came to this, know of this fact and these numbers, right? I just happened to share them in random conversation with, let's say, someone who doesn't belong to this world, startup world, right? And this number really spins their head. क्या कैसे हो रहा है ये?
Yeah.
मतलब तलने भी जाओगे कितना तल लोगे आप एक दिन में? These are the questions that are like these are the conversations that you come across when you're. I'm sure you would have come across such things.
So it's funny, and you are talking about the extreme sense where you are already giving them the number.
Yeah.
In our case, a lot of people who, when we introduce ourselves, right, they think, samosa wale, somebody, without the background. If they know the background, if they know, okay, these are highly educated people, left their 8-figure jobs, now they sell samosas. Obviously, they must be onto something, right? But if there are people who don't have this background, they think, हाँ ठीक है, those samosa guys, you know.
Ah.
And a lot of times, this is interesting that even people in my distant family would imagine that I'm sitting somewhere making them
Making and
myself.
frying samosa.
I mean, literally, like, you know,
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
even asked कि तुम ये कैसे बनाती हो? And I was like, no, मैं हलवाई नहीं हूँ, मैं नहीं बनाती हूँ. I'm the administrator, right? It's hard for people to believe that this can be institutionalized. It looks like ये तो छोटा ही business होगा. It doesn't. Nobody understands the scale of uncool things in our
So
country.
that is exactly the reason why, for example, creating a brand out of it
Yeah.
was something that, I mean, yes, the entire, for example, so to say, brandification of everything that is there in India, and for example, people, the way, for example, the timing definitely hit it correctly. There is no two question about it. But at the same time, probably it's the taste as well. For example, the way you look at the samosas that you get, I'm sure, I mean, if the camera also looks at it, right, doesn't look like that it is coming from a QSR.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't taste like one. Right? It is definitely something that you feel that it is coming right from a halwai shop, right? And you would want a halwai samosa.
More of it.
Yeah.
You want more of it.
You want more of it.
Something which is connected to your memories, right? You don't want too much tampering around with.
But just curious, right? What is the, let's say, ratio of age group that you usually get in your customers? It is, for example, the young crowd, the Gen Zs, who would be more of your customers, or is it, let's say, the ones who are let's say, have money, they are significantly so to say, well-to-do people, and working where in cities where, let's say, samosas are not easily available, right? What is the crowd that you usually find?
So, primary TJ, I would say, is 20 to 40 years old. But you know, not in a city where samosas are not found or anything. We are present in Gurgaon as well. We are in Noida. We are launching Delhi as well. We are in Bangalore, Hyderabad. So it's not about places where samosas are not found. I think samosas are present everywhere, yet they are nowhere. Right? You don't think of a single brand that comes to your mind when you think of samosas, right? So it's not about the location. It's of course about the customer. 20 to 40 years old, but there is a spillover. Like there are customers who are 50-60-year-olds who love ordering from Samosa Party, you know, but for the longest time we were an online only brand. People could not order, so people used to tell their son or daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws kya Samosa Party hai, samosa order kar do. So those instances we get a lot.
There's no age group.
There's no
affinity.
age group.
No
Like
age group
it's
affinity,
a product that in a house, if all three generations are there, all three generations can eat and enjoy.
Wow.
That's the kind of product.
That's actually
samosa
quite
is.
something
No
that,
brand has broken that barrier, by
Yeah.
the way. Like if you were to order food at home, right, and you have
I mean, I know
parents,
pizzas cannot break that barrier
can't.
because our parents will say ki, what is
खाना
this cheese?
खिलाओ,
What is this cheese? ये खाना थोड़ी ना है.
रोटी सब्जी
Right.
मंगाओ, right?
I think
खाना
two
खाओ.
products that can do it in India is biryani and samosas. This is what
I guess biryani has already proved its salt, right?
Yeah.
And samosa will probably definitely do it in next 3-4 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But another, let's say, a little funny question, right? From proud North Indians who are very proud of their samosas, right? That ये चीज तो जो है साउथ इंडिया में चल जाएगी, पर दिल्ली आके देखो होगा क्या, ये थोड़ा चलेगा. What I mean, I'm sure your numbers will definitely defy such sentiments as
So
well.
we used to get this a lot when we started कि यार बैंगलोर में चल रहा है क्योंकि बैंगलोर में तो समोसे मिलते ही नहीं है.
Chicken में कड़ी पत्ता
बैंगलोर में तो
people used to say
people used
things
to say.
like that.
So बैंगलोर में समोसे मिलते ही नहीं. That's why you are doing well. So our point of view was that if you have to scale, and maybe it's true, right? We have to see it. So while we were very confident what we wanted to see, that's why our next city was not a Hyderabad, not a Chennai, but was Gurgaon, where we wanted to understand that is this actually true?
Take that as a challenge
Take that
itself.
as a challenge and
We
understand.
literally did that out of a, I think it was a whip of anger or something. Where we were like, कि everybody keeps saying Delhi में नहीं कर पाओगे, करके दिखाते हैं, right? That's how we went into it.
So we launched Gurgaon, we scaled Gurgaon. Gurgaon numbers are similar to Bangalore numbers, while Bangalore is much older market for us. So, it goes back to the same thing, right? Even if you have to see samosa as a product, it's a very emotionally, we are very emotionally
We
attached
are
to the
emotional about
product, right?
samosas.
Yeah.
About
Absolutely.
samosas.
Samosas
It's
can
a
start
if
wars.
something happens to a samosa, it's a national debate in our country, right?
Yes.
And each of us have their own one favorite place where you like to eat samosa. Ki, if I'm from Indore, I have a specific samosa in Indore. Delhi में also किसी का एक कहीं चांदनी चौक में या ओल्ड दिल्ली में कहीं पे होगा, but right, but nobody has organized this, nobody has scaled it. So our idea and our point of view is not कि हम आपके हलवाई जरा समोसा exact बना पाएंगे, because that nostalgia nobody can replicate, right? But we'll be bringing something very close to it, but we'll be able to give you something which is very authentic and you'll like it for sure. So in a city like Delhi also, if you have just one favorite halwai, you इतनी दूर तो नहीं जाओगे ना
Of
always लेने
course.
के लिए. So that is the idea, wherein your favorite halwai or a player would have one or two outlets in your city. We'll have 50, 100 outlets
And
where
I
you
guess
can.
there is something about, for example, the passionate restaurateur or the passionate halwais, so to say,
Yeah,
कि हम जो है कहीं और नहीं जाएंगे. This is one and only store. आना है तो यहीं पे आओ. And this is very common, not just
Specifically in the food business.
exactly,
Because
specifically
it's
in the
very
food business.
skill driven,
Yeah.
it's very passion driven,
yeah.
it's execution driven, and
Yeah.
people realize ki, I can execute this right here, but I can't execute this
Exactly.
outside of my comfort
Absolutely.
zone.
Correct.
Right?
But and what brings me to the next one is, while you are definitely trying to tackle the taste challenge, कि taste कैसे लाएंगे, consistency कैसे रखेंगे, right? How did you arrive at a price point as well? जहाँ पे जिस country में you get samosas from 5 rupees today, right? From 5 rupees to maximum, let's say 15, 20 rupees. Unlike let's say gourmet samosa, right? Typical desi samosas, right? 5 से 20 रुपए में you get it. How did you find, for example, the right price point? वो कैसा journey रहा? Right? Can you throw some light on price point discovery as well?
We always wanted to be a mass premium brand. We wanted to be a 15-20% premium. Should not be comparable, or should not be as cheap or as priced as your local roadside halwai. Should be same price at your good halwais or good sweet shops, what you call it. But at the same point in time, the brand value, the aspirational, the question of how it is presented, how you're eating it, how you're feeling when you are consuming the product should be high. So 15-20% premium, we were for sure from day one we wanted to be. And it's a journey. You also discover along your journey whether customers are willing to give this money, or whether customers are okay. But for us, charging 20% premium was not an issue for us. Our customers are okay with the price point which we are charging. In fact, we have some elasticity on the price, but we want to keep it
But when you were, for
affordable and
example, launching it, right? When you were launching it, I'm sure more than right now, so you have data points, right? To really back these things, right? But when you were launching it, then it was pure gut feeling, right?
Little bit of external research also. You will look at, how much is someone else selling at, and how much is your if it's a consumer, and if this is what my consumer is, this is his age group, he probably earns this much in a month, these are the brands he wears. So simple example is, a lot of people use Levi's as a marker, right? Somebody who wears a Levi's jeans is a brand conscious consumer, and therefore he is going to probably use, these are the 5 other brands that he uses, and what are their price points, or what kind of a signaling is he giving when he's consuming those. So we looked outside.
Actually, it's more occasion based. If a customer is going out or ordering in for a snacking occasion, how much that a customer wants to pay to snack in. Let's say a customer wants to pay 200 rupees, 250 rupees, 350 rupees, 100 rupees, 150 rupees. Depending on that, your entire you arrive at a price point.
Interestingly, I was at a restaurant just yesterday, franchisee of a Delhi restaurant, right? And they were basically selling, let's say, a gourmet version of the street style food, like inspired from the street style food, trying to pick it up, right? And one of the, I guess you've studied in Delhi, you would recall it well. There are these fried burgers, right? Roadside burgers, fried bun burgers, right? जहाँ पे आप आलू टिक्की लगा दो, you put a slice of paneer, you put a slice of cheese there, and it just tastes in Bhopal as well, right?
Yeah,
We've tasted it,
yeah,
10 number market,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this, I got very excited, right? When I saw this in the menu, I got very excited. But even though they were selling it, and I'm not kidding you, like you'd get that, what, in 40 rupees, 45 rupees, 30 rupees, right? These burgers. This restaurant was selling it at, what, 540 rupees. 540
Yeah.
rupees, right? Same thing, 540 rupees. But and I was still okay paying it because I wanted that taste. I really wanted that taste, even though I was paying legit 11x,
Yeah.
right? 11x of what actually the
You calculated?
what actually the price was, right? However, when it came, it was more like a, let's say, a truffles burger, a more American burger, the large size burger, where there was a blend of this and a blend of that.
So it landed nowhere.
It landed nowhere, right? And which is something that I really like about Samosa Party, that you're not trying to be this thing where it only attracts one class of the society, right? And doesn't do the justice of the street style that it really has to, right? That way, I really like this about. Did you think of this thing that should I create a, let's say, high price point SKU as well?
Yeah.
No, so one of the things
How
that
do you
we are
guys save yourself
particular.
from that thought?
Yeah, you have to, because you have to stand for something, right? And you have to. It's so easy to get carried away. I know so many chefs from my past background, right? And every chef you talk to, they give you fancy ideas around, do a truffle and edamame samosa,
Wow.
do a yeah, like
Thai
a
curry
Thai
samosa.
curry samosa. You should do, so they give all these fancy ideas because these are all fine dining folks, and
True.
I don't blame them, right? Because every time I talk to them, और बताओ क्या चल रहा है आजकल, so they would definitely say things like,
Experiment.
yeah, so they
It's
would say
also that
things,
passion of food,
yeah,
right?
the passion for food and whatever is selling in a 5-star hotel, right? They
Yeah.
have to bring new ingredients and new stuff to people. So they try and, give me those ideas. And it has been a conscious call to stay away from all of this because we are a mass premium brand. It's not our job to introduce somebody to an edamame or to a truffle, right? Our job is to give the best tasting street food experience, which is, relatable. There has to be some relatability. I can't give you food which you've never tasted before in the name of samosa. I think that's the first and foremost principle. You have to be able to understand the format. ये समोसे में आएगा, ये fried होगा. You have to be able to understand the flavor. That if I'm eating a Afghani chicken, then I somewhat can relate. Okay, this will be creamy, malai sort of. So you have to have an imagination of what am I going to get when I order the food. If there is a complete surprise and complete no knowledge of what's coming in my order or what am I getting on my plate, then that's a complete disconnect from a samosa brand. Right?
Yeah.
There has to be familiarity with flavors and formats.
But then doesn't it, for example, restrict you from, let's say, launching more SKUs, right?
Doesn't actually. The universe is so big. Yeah, India is. How many Europes will fit into India? Right? I mean, every state is.
The entirety of it.
Exactly, the entirety of it. So think of all these countries and their cuisines and think of all the diverse cuisine that India has to offer from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. We are learning every day. We discovered the Jodhpuri style of kachoris and then we said, can we do this Jodhpuri masala in a samosa? It's one of our top sellers. It's a beautiful product with that authentic kachori ka masala with pyaz and besan and hing in it. Then we have similar things like, from down south, the patti samosas that we do, which are nice ginger garlic flavored,
Right.
slivers of onion, very mild flavor, but very unique and distinct, right? You can almost taste the crunch of every single onion bite that you take. So there's so much diversity in Indian food that I think we will never run out of ideas.
And there are different kinds of customers, right? There are customers who are very purist and will say कि यार समोसे में तो सिर्फ आलू होता है
True.
और सब क्यों डाल दिया तो
काजू वाजू क्यों डाल दिया इसके अंदर?
Yeah.
So for those customers we have classics as well. We have your Punjabi aloo samosa, we have a Jodhpuri aloo pyaz samosa, we have a desi aloo samosa. So for those customers we have we have a mutton keema samosa. For those customers we have those products, right? But there are customers who are more experimental, more gourmet seeking, we get a lot of hate for a product called noodle samosa, which everybody says
I guess
everybody
इसी वीडियो में आया था ना ये?
everybody says
Someone told
everybody
me
says
this morning that I'm exercising 15 minutes extra so that I can eat 2 noodle samosas.
yeah, everybody
today.
says कि यार ये
Oh.
क्या है ये क्या noodle डाल दिया समोसे में, right?
Wow.
But our customers love it and it's a very tasty product. if you start eating a noodle samosa,
You know, I'm
you
guilty. I
will.
haven't tried it to this
Oh
date.
God.
It's a
I'm guilty.
it's a I mean as a concept, and it's not like noodle samosa हम पहली बार कर रहे हैं, right? You go to Dehradun, you'll find players
Is it?
doing noodle samosa,
Patna also.
Oh.
Patna. So it might feel कि ये कहीं बाहर से आ गया and products are
हाँ.
they are giving these
I
products,
didn't know.
but all these products
Yeah.
have existed. There are these products, brands in Delhi, brands in Dehradun, brands in
Yeah.
Indore, brands in Patna. People are doing different experiments with the product, and customers like it. Customers are eating it.
There is a
So-
girl who mentioned the noodle samosa on Kaun Banega Crorepati.
What are you saying?
Yeah, she mentioned to Amitabh Bachchan that, I love noodle samosas at a
Yeah,
particular
at a
place in
particular
Patna.
place, yeah.
So it's not like noodle samosa एकदम alien है. Like I said, कुछ familiarity होनी
Familiarity
चाहिए.
है.
तो
Yeah.
वो familiarity है, वो KBC पे आया हुआ है noodle samosa.
Yeah. No, simple things like a lot of places you get samosa with curry, for example. And
samosa with curry to I have
and
Curry
definitely.
samosa.
and
It's a meal.
curry
It's
samosa.
a meal.
It's a
Yes.
meal, right? For some people, it might be an odd combination कि क्या है, but there are people selling it. There are people eating it. It tastes very, very good, right? So as long as customers are accepting it, customers are liking it, and there is something for everybody.
I
Like
guess
I
it is
said,
also because that samosa has such a long heritage,
free. Yeah.
right? It has such a long history that I don't know since when did it really start. It came with Mughals, if I remember it right, right? And it has been with us for 500 years and plus, right? And many experiments have happened. There are many versions of it, and I guess that's the reason where every state or every town has its own speciality. For
Version.
example,
Correct.
I come from Lucknow, right? And actually, it's town near to Lucknow, right? It's called Jagdishpur. हमारे वहाँ पे एक स्टेशन है निहालगढ़ करके. You'll not believe me. I've genuinely never had the more tastier samosas than one guy who sits in that railway station, very छोटू सा railway station, right? Not many trains stop there, right? And छोटू सा, and he's been there for last 30 years or something, selling samosas वहाँ पे, and you have no idea. People even from Lucknow, they make sure that they make a pit stop at Nihalgarh if they are going towards Gorakhpur or Patna
Just for his samosa.
for just that samosa.
That's the power of
That's the
good
power of
food,
food,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the power of food.
True.
In today's context, you see people lining up for iPhones when a new model launches or whatever. But other than that, the only place you will see long queues is generally food stop.
True.
लोग कपड़ों के लिए लाइन नहीं लगाते, किसी और चीज के लिए लगाते, right? But
Absolutely.
legendary food, and if it's done right, it's the only thing that has the power to make you
You're
queue
right.
up
You're so right.
outside, right? And it's
Chandni
not
Chowk
just,
mein I've seen it at 3-4
yeah,
such stores.
not just Chandni Chowk,
Anywhere.
everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
Bangalore
You
as
see-
well.
Yeah.
You have CTR
Yeah.
where the queues are there, MTR where the queues are
Every
there.
city,
Everywhere.
the highest frequency of a commodity or something that you can buy and enjoy.
Probably after iPhone and
People-
Nike, it's
Exactly. People will queue up only for good food. That's the power of good food. So coming back to where you were saying that, how do you stay away from higher price
Yeah.
points? How do you stay away
yeah,
from
yeah.
more premium products? The idea is to be accessible, familiar,
More relatable.
and more frequent.
Yeah.
समोसा एज अ प्रोडक्ट ऐसी चीज नहीं है जिसको ऑर्डर करने से पहले या खाने से पहले बहुत सोचना पड़ता है, राइट? इफ यू वेंट टू दैट निहालगढ़ प्लेस दैट यू आर मेंशनिंग, you would just drive past. You would if somebody was with you, you would say samosa खाएगा, the answer is 99.9% yes.
True.
तो वो आंसर हमेशा yes होना चाहिए. When somebody says samosa party करेगा, you should not have to think too much.
True.
It's affordable, it's great tasting, it's accessible, and the answer should
That is
always
all
be
it
yes.
should be.
That is the framework that we apply.
Yeah.
That will people say yes to
While
our
you're
product.
making it relatable, I'm just using this as a segue. While you're making this, you're making samosas more relatable and accessible, right? One of the things in accessibility comes, how do you make it reach the hinterlands of the country or many more cities where,
Yeah.
for example, the different tastes that India can offer in samosas has not reached. An Odisha, right? Or your typical, or let's say a Northeast, right? Or probably a Kerala, right? How do you decide, and how does this thing entire functions, right? That how do you open a city? How does this entire, let's say, supply chain really works? How does this comes to your mind, and how do you figure this out?
Yes, first and foremost, we want to go to tier 1 cities, but of course, samosa being such a massive product, we'll be going in tier 2, tier 3 cities, maybe someday even villages as well, right? So the idea is always about the business where it would make more sense to be present as a business than where people are consuming, what people are consuming, and which city where samosa gap is there. Because like I mentioned already, there is no such thing like कि samosa gap कहीं पे है या जहाँ पे समोसा नहीं खाते. Everywhere people eat samosa and everywhere there are players selling samosas. We are just trying to organize a very small part of this entire universe, right? So mostly all these decisions are business based. And how does your supply chain work? How does your production work? Where does it make sense to go first in terms of priority order? That has been the only reason why we have gone to the cities where we have been.
We've actually looked at the per capita samosa consumption in all the cities,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
We have like detailed database of 500 plus cities,
Yeah.
and the number of samosa makers and samosa
Players.
shops, players.
wow. And what does
whoever
that give
exists,
you?
Yeah. What is that?
So the highest per capita samosa consumption is in which city? Can you guess? Which city consumes the most
Maximum
number of
number of samosas.
samosas with respect to their population? So take a wild guess.
I'm the way you're telling me, it's definitely not a city in North India. Or is it?
It is not.
It's
is
not
not.
in North
It's not.
India.
Oh
It's
God.
not. It's a very interesting thing when people say क्या समोसे तो दिल्ली में ही खाते हैं.
नहीं नहीं
समोसे तो नहीं समोसे तो यहीं पे खाते हैं. That's what most people think, right? It's actually highest in Hyderabad.
what are you saying?
Hyderabad eats a lot of samosas, and they
Buy
might
by
be
kilos.
What are you saying?
Hyderabad might be eating a lot of Irani samosas or patti style samosas, which we may call it. We also have a couple of variants in our menu. But like I said, right, samosa is everywhere. And I'm only talking about top cities where we have done
Hmm.
research. There might be a very small city in
But
somewhere
what's the
in
per capita of Hyderabad?
that number I will have to check the exact number, but like
A
I
range.
mentioned, depending on the number of players that are selling samosas, and it could be quite possible that in a very small city that might number be higher. We've only analyzed top cities of India, but there might be a tier 2, tier 3 city where people are consuming more number of samosas than any other bigger city. So
My
and,
guess is that, some of the international cities are also far ahead. For example, certain parts of Canada or certain parts of UK will probably be far ahead in terms of their samosa consumption compared to some parts of India, right? Because samosas are everywhere. I mean, India is exporting samosas to 140 countries. Okay. So I don't know of any other food item that too ready to eat, ready to consume, or a snack which would go to as many countries and be accepted there. I don't know what else is going other than samosas.
Damn.
It could probably be masalas and all, but that's a different.
Yeah. But still, how do you design, let's say, your entire supply chain? Where do you keep what? How do you station things so that, for example, fresh samosas reach a customer's doorstep? How do you make sure that where the pit stops are, and how do you package it? How do you structure it?
yeah, so it all starts with the product, right? What is the USP of the product? What should a samosa be? Samosa should be hot, samosa should be
Crispy.
crispy,
Yeah.
and samosa should have that, once you take that bite, you get into an equal amount of crust and filling at the same point in time. A good samosa should be all these three things, right? You start with that, and then you backward engineer. If you have to scale, then what are these things that you can do separately? What are these things that you can do centrally? What are these things that you can do at the outlet? And you design your entire supply chain as per that. But the end goal is a customer wants a hot, crispy samosa, which has a good bite. When I say a good bite, equal amount of crust to the filling. And then you think of it at how much time a samosa takes to fry, how much time does it take to make a samosa. A typical samosa takes 30 to 35 minutes to fry from its raw state after it's fully made, and it will take another, let's say, 30 minutes of time to make the dough, to roll it, to fill it, so on and so forth, right? And if it's in an entirety, if it's a 1 hour process to make a samosa, how do you crunch it down to the last mile that every time a customer orders, you get a hot, crispy, and fresh fried samosa, right? That was the single line statement. You want to give a freshly made, freshly fried samosa. It should not be like if you're coming, let's say at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, you're getting a fresh samosa. It's freshly fried, you're frying it in batches. But if you're ordering, let's say at 9 o'clock in the morning or 12 midnight, you're getting a samosa which is pre-made. So the single line statement was you should get a freshly
What is
fried
the,
samosa.
let's say, what is the time right now? Minus, let's say, your shipping one from one place to another, right? Minus that, what is the time from, let's say, 1 hour? How long does it take for you with at that and to work at this scale?
See, if I talk about the entirety, it still takes 1 hour,
Hmm.
right? A samosa making takes 1 hour still with our kind of setup, right? But the way how we treat, the way the supply chain is engineered, we give a freshly fried samosa on order to a customer in under 3 minutes. So when a customer orders, you get a freshly fried samosa just for you. Uh,
So just like when you ordered Domino's, right? Your pizza is customized, it is assembled. So some parts of the pizza are already done. The vegetables have been cut before, the cheese has been picked before, the sauce has been made before. In certain cases, even the dough has been flattened out, right? In some cases, they will take the dough and they will flatten it and then put all of the toppings and everything and load it in the oven after you have ordered. So with the same principle, after you've ordered, your order goes into a fryer for frying. So some parts are done before and some parts are done right when you order, made for you. What is important though is, and obviously, we're speaking about crest as much here. So obviously, what's important is how are you able to forecast what kind of product, how much to stock at each outlet. How do you see that every consumer gets what he wants, because we have so much variety. It's also important, and over time we've also established favorites with people, right?
yeah.
Like everybody has their own Subway order. So same way everybody has their favorite samosa, party ka samosa, right? So same way, how do you make sure that if 10 people are ordering, everybody gets what they like? Otherwise, it's a deal breaker. We don't want anyone to have to compromise saying, today this is not available, therefore you should try that. We would want everybody to get their favorite in their order, and therefore it's important that you do the right kind of forecasting, the right kind of stocking, the right kind of production, and so on, which obviously tools help, and we've been able to achieve a very good number in terms of fulfillment.
So I'll tell you, I mean, this is where a lot of entrepreneurs, when they start, right, definitely everyone is passionate about product, right, and solving a problem, right? But the next big thing that really comes as a challenge for these entrepreneurs is especially around how do you distribute it. Distribution is probably the even bigger challenge, right? If tomorrow Samosa Party were to decide to open in another city, what would it take for you to open into another city?
So a new city launch for us, we've done these exercises, right? We've launched 3 new cities apart from Bangalore. I think the timeline we have from the day we say we should go into this city, right from getting the team in place and the product and all everything in place, in 60 days we can do that.
Yeah.
So in 60 days, we are ready to be deployed in a new city. And when we launch a new city, we don't do just one outlet and leave it. We create a network. So we go with at least 4 outlets, so that people can see you and access you in multiple places, right? And we spoke about access earlier. So having that access means that if I go to my office, I have access to Samosa Party. I come home, I have a store nearby. I am going to a mall or to a market over the weekend, and I have access to Samosa Party there. So how do you become a part of somebody's life right from day one, rather than saying it is available in such and such place and I can only access it when I am there?
Hmm. No, but still, coming to that, for example, when I say yes, 60 days it takes, but what all things do you have to really kind of go into? What all activities do you do in those 60 days? I'm sure a lot of that would be business, this thing, but anything that can really help an aspiring entrepreneur who is looking to kind of get into a QSR, right? What all does it take? What all do you have to think and decide before you step a foot into a new city?
Of course, you think about the market, whichever market you're going, and the number of stores that you're opening. Like Disha mentioned, we go with some sort of network effect where we have 4, 5, 6, 7 outlets in a city, and not just you're going with a one single outlet. your entire supply chain depends on it in a different model. Maybe you'll have to put up a central kitchen there, or if your model, if you can ship it from your base place or base factory or base kitchen, whatever you call it, then you still have to have a warehouse or a distribution set up in those locations. In our case, it depends on location to location, right? If we have to set up our central kitchen, it takes some more time. But if our base kitchen and central kitchen is already there, and we have capability to supply chain to supply the products there, it takes us 2 months. We also look at where should the warehousing be, where will the outlet be, and how would your supply chain work from in both intercity as well as intracity level. How much would it cost? How quickly you will have to replenish to a different city if you are making product in a different one city and exporting to other city, or even if you are making the product in the same city, how quickly would you want to replenish? Because in a early stage of any city, the unit economics have to make sense. Otherwise, in a new city, there are a lot of central cost. It's very easy to lose money very quickly in a new city, right? So you have to keep your central cost as low as possible so that you start making money very quickly. So a good and efficient supply chain is very important. Where should your outlet be? Where will your warehouse will be? And how quickly you will be able to distribute to some of those locations. At the same point in time, you should not have such big houses that you are storing product, for next 7 days, because you are unnecessary taking increasing your storage capacity, your utility bills,
There's a
so on and
cost to
so forth.
working capital
Yeah,
as
of
well
course.
Yeah,
while you're
yeah,
storing that
yeah.
inventory.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting and very thin line between where to go. You have to be very optimally designed that you don't store too much. At the same point in time, you have all your products available at all point in time.
It is very interesting that you mentioned unit economics, right? Mm, Many founders that I have met and I've spoken to, right, especially who are launching consumer businesses, right? Many of them really underestimate the amount of, let's say, margin that will go into a supply chain, right? And I'm not kidding you, I've seen people spending 40%, 40% of their margins in just supply chain fulfillment itself. How will you make money?
Not just the money, I think people also underestimate the effort and the value
Yeah.
of a good supply chain,
Yeah.
right? This is something that we were particular right from the beginning. From day one, in fact, we used to even have a slide on this, which was called built for scale from day one, right? And it was a principle we followed from day one. Every decision we took, everything we did, we always looked at it from a lens of, can we do this for 1,000 outlets? Can this be replicated when we are a 1,000 crore company, for example, right? And that's something that we have stuck to even till today. We don't take decisions specifically on make or break situations like new city launches, or your supply chain principles, product life cycle, or anything like that, where we feel that if it can't be done for 1,000 outlets, then it should not be done today.
I mean, I guess one reason why such thinking really comes and reaps its benefit that you guys are profitable today, which is also an exception in the startup ecosystem, a profitable, profit making early stage QSR, and which definitely shows that you guys have a very good handle on your unit economics itself. In your opinion, what do you think as a percentage margin, right, should be for supply chain, carved out for supply chain itself?
I think it is business to business dependent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's no single number or single percentage that you can define. Some businesses can change your entire game if you have a good supply chain, right? There are businesses, um, uh, I mean,
Especially
um,
staples,
yeah, in a lot of businesses, right? So
where
I
you have
can't.
commodities.
Yeah, you in some of the businesses you can charge significant premium if your supply chain allows you to deliver it faster. At that point in time, you can spend 10, 20, 30%, 40%, like you mentioned, if the business allows you to
It's need
charge.
based.
Huh.
It's need based.
So
Distribution, supply chain,
yeah,
both.
so
Both.
there's no fixed percentage, I would say, as long as customer is willing to pay. Uh, yeah.
So in our, I mean, in my experience, right, the amount of time that I've spent in supply chain, working with large companies, right? And even the ones who are just getting started, right? Companies who are just doing, let's say, 5-10 lakh in a month as well, right? In our experience, what we have noticed as a median, right? If your supply chain expense is under 20%, you will make money.
It's a good, yeah.
It's a good.
It's a good.
That's true.
However,
Provided your gross margins are healthy.
provided your gross margins are at least 70%.
At least 70%.
Exactly.
So yes.
Whereas, for example, when you look at FBA, right, the Prime and the fulfilled by Amazon kind of a setup where FBA itself takes away the entire 30%.
30. I'm hearing 40 also from some
Wow,
people
okay.
now. I think for newer
That's
brands
new
or
now.
they-
But yeah, 30% really goes into just the fulfillment itself. But for what? For 2 days, same day delivery,
correct.
right? And this is something that although people realize, right, there's just very little material available on supply chain overall as well, right?
Yeah.
Before, for example, we came on board, right? What were the things? I'm sure, जहाँ चाह वहाँ राह वाला चीज आता ही है कि जो चीज करनी है वहाँ अपने आप बनता चला जाता है. But before even, for example, while you were thinking of moving, and that I also want to kind of come wide QSR versus what you were doing earlier. But when you decided to do QSR, right? How did you really learn about, for example, how do I set up supply chain? What are the things that I'll have to do? Where all did you learn? Did you kind of go ahead and speak to founders like yourself, right, or businessmen like yourself, or you had, let's say, books that are available, or let's say some online reading material? How did you guys?
I think best way is to learn on ground. I think that's what I have done. From day one when I started Samosa Party, I did it while I was working with my regular job as well. So the idea and I had to make it very lean. I had to make it very efficient. I had to make it so that I am not required to run that business, right? That's how I started the business. So, and like Diksha mentioned, right, from day one, the idea was if this has to scale to 100, 200, 500,000 outlet, will it scale this way or not? I don't know how it came, but from day one, the idea was like I could have hired a halwai वहाँ पे fresh समोसे बना सकते थे, but from day one, even though we had one outlet, we had a central kitchen based approach.
We
So,
never cooked on
so
premise.
so a person would think यार कि एक ही तो outlet है central kitchen का चाहिए बना लो, right? But that thought process was there. If I am even though it was a building, the central kitchen was on the first floor, ground floor I was
Running the
the
store.
outlet. But the idea was if I can replicate this in one store, I can replicate this in 10 store as well. So from day one, the idea was to create a brand that can replicate. Otherwise, it's not worth time and effort, right? If I have to run it just as a passion, just as a side hobby, then it's okay. वो एक चल रहा है. But the day we started, we have to build a QSR and not just a restaurant. The idea was it has to be scalable and everything.
आपने already scale के लिए ready किया हुआ था.
From day one, like I said, we literally made a slide which was called what is it?
Ready to, I mean,
No,
made to build to scale.
Build to scale from day
Build to
one.
scale from
That
day
was a slide which we created that this is how we will build to scale from day one. तो शुरू से scale सोचो, शुरू से think of what are the problems you will encounter, and every time you take a decision, filter it through that lens. With
And
the
of course,
scale to
it's a journey. You can't be perfect from day one. Your unit economics may not be right from
Of
day
course,
one. It will
of course.
improve. You'll gradually learn what needs to be done. But you talk to people, you understand what other founders, fellow founders are doing. But on ground skill and on ground knowledge, nobody can teach you. It's
That
my
is so
personal-
true.
Yeah, and everybody's challenges are
That
unique.
is so
no?
true.
Yeah.
Everyone's challenges are different. Even in our industry, somebody at the scale of Domino's or KFC has different challenges
Yeah.
than the challenges that we have, right? So we can learn and borrow from some things that they've done, but just blindly copying how they solved a problem will not solve us. I think eventually common sense
we are at
is
this,
required.
while preventing myself from not asking, let's say, a relatively controversial question, but not to really diss anyone. But for example, there were other samosa brands as well that started or that are still there. What difference, for example, what are the things that, for example, worked for you, didn't work for them, right? Or didn't work for the others, right? Or worked for them the others and didn't work for you guys? And how does it really play out when it is, for example, such a SKU?
Yeah, I think it's a very authentic product, and you have to be authentic to the product. Samosa, like I mentioned, na, it can be a national debate if you screw with the product too much. So you have to be true to the product, and it's a very simple, humble product, and you have to keep it at that. I think it all starts from there. It all starts from the product. Your product has to be superior. You should be able to execute. If not 10 out of 10, you should be able to execute at least 8 out of 10 times. Exactly same whether you are eating in Delhi or you are eating in Hyderabad or you are eating in Bangalore. I think that is the more challenging part of scale. Whether you are able to give the same experience every single time a customer orders. A Domino's or a McDonald's is a better brand because they are able to execute, let's say,
Consistency.
8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times. They'll also miss out 1 or 2 times, which is okay. But I think that is the game of QSR. Can you give consistent experience every single time when a customer orders? I think it all starts from the product. You take a product and you backward engineer whatever you want to do, but don't play with the product. The final product, final soul of the product has to remain same.
It's all customer backward.
Yeah.
In categories like these, it's not like fashion where I will tell you that today you can wear loose jeans and tomorrow morning I can just declare these are no longer in. Now you have to wear tight jeans, right?
It's not that.
It's
Of
not
course,
that.
it
This
is
is
not
one
that. It is.
category where everybody has an
It is this
individual
has to be the
taste.
same taste as it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
100 years
yeah.
ago
And
as it is today.
Everyone has their own individual taste to it, right? In fashion, a lot of times you may say, I don't
Yes.
like this, but I still wear it because everybody else is wearing.
Yeah,
Food doesn't work like that.
true.
I will not eat something just because 10 other people in the room are eating. I have my
Absolutely.
religious beliefs associated with it. I have my childhood and my upbringing. I have the entire baggage of who I am today associated with
identity.
food. Exactly. With food, right? What I eat, how I eat, where I eat is a huge part of me. Unlike, things that are external like fashion, makeup, or anything else for that matter. So food is very, very personal. And therefore it's very sacred also, right? Food is also prasad, right? So
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
very sacred. So you can't mess around with people's favorite food. And that's something that we have also been very honest about. We've not tampered so much with it that, people will get offended at any point.
Now, while we are talking about, I mean, very honest answers. Thank you so much. But while we are talking about identity,
Yeah.
right? While we're talking about relatability, right? I'm sure the way, for example, you guys have created a brand, right? You would have definitely thought a lot about these as well, right? Or, for example, the way you outreach as well. I want to throw some light on, for example, why, why, let's say,
Why brand it?
why an orange color like this thing, or how do you create it where it can relate with, let's say, a college going student today and someone who is just retired sitting at home and wants to have some snack? What are the branding decisions that you take to really make it relatable?
Sure. I think the first and foremost, and something that has really worked for us, happened by chance, was the nomenclature, right? We're not just a samosa shop or some Mishtan Bhandar or something like that, right? Like most samosa walas are either some sweets or some bhandar, some bhavan, and so on, right? We are about having a good time.
Yeah.
We are about gathering. We are about friends, friendships, relationships, and just enjoying yourself over a simple food item, right? So that samosa party itself, I think that's a huge part of our branding, and everything else came from that.
Yeah.
Because we are samosa party, we're also almost a verb. We're not about ki samosa party se mangalo. We are samosa party karte hain. So you order samosa party and it becomes a samosa party. Like all of us are sitting here and having a samosa party. So the biggest branding decision, and I think the best branding decision that we've taken so far,
Awesome.
has been the name itself, right? Because it's a happy name, it puts you in the mood, it puts you in that environment and zone ki kuch happy hai, kuch acha ho raha hai, right? And samosa is about that. It's about a personal joy, it's about shared moments. So I think that came from there. Everything else, whether it was the fonts, the color scheme, the packaging ideas, the consumption themes, everything else came.
You know why I'm asking you this question is because many a times aspiring entrepreneurs or anyone for that matter who's looking into it really misses out on a lot of these minute details, right? For example, how you would create. I mean, this is a font that I've not seen anywhere, right? How do you pick color? How do you pick a lot of these things? You want to give a very quick refresher, 1 minute refresher on what are the decisions that you have to take, which really defines, let's say, your TG's personality.
Sure.
Yeah, so
Untapped.
like Diksha mentioned, right? It all starts with the name Samosa Party. Uh, and Samosa Party stands for any big, small celebration that you have around your life, right? It could be at your home, it could be at your work, it could be when you are going out, right? So it all starts with that vibe. Once you get that vibe, once you get that feeling what Samosa Party is, then comes your color. It has to be a very young, happy color. So came orange. Then came across what should be the what should the packaging be, right? If you are consuming in a group, then the packaging should be like this. It's a bucket, which is if somebody is sitting here, sitting here, sitting here, it's
It's
accessible to everyone.
It's
Shareable.
democratic.
It's shareable. It is democratic just when you put it in a this thing. It's not in a on a your own. It's not an individual burger that is just for you. It's a bucket shareable for everybody, right? So as soon as you decide who do you target and what's the soul of the brand is, what's the vibe of the branded, then everything follows, right? The font and everything came because we wanted to be a QSR. We wanted to be a quick in and out kind of a brand. It's a simple product. Samosa is not it's a no brainer. If you go to a room of 500 people, you ask samosa chiye, most of them will say yes, right? They won't apply there too much brain because you don't have to sell a product like samosa. It's a sold product. You understand what a samosa look like, taste like. So wanted to keep it QSR-ish, which is very quick in and out. At the same point in time, we did not want to create a product which is we did not want to create a brand which is very nostalgic, which is reminding you of your heritage and so on and so forth. Of course, that's one direction that people take. We wanted to be very cool, casual, fun brand, and that's where the approach was. If you go to a, let's say, a McDonald's, or you go to a KFC, you go to a McDonald's, you go to a samosa party. All four brands, if they are standing, if their outlets are next to each other, their brandings are next to each other, samosa party should not look smaller as far as the branding is concerned than all those brands. It should not be a newspaper mein samosa dal diya hai. We don't want to be nostalgic we did not want to be, right?
Yeah.
How is it working? How good it is? We are yet to know. Customers are liking it, but that was our point of view, our thought process.
Yeah.
One of the
Also
things
on
I
our
guess,
packaging, right? Sorry, I'll just add a little bit on the packaging as well. If you will notice, we've communicated a lot of functional and emotional benefits,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You will see functional words like, made to order. So it communicates a USP of
freshly
the
prepared,
product that is freshly prepared, made to
crispy,
order. I don't
crunchy.
know if everybody reads it or not, but
Yeah,
over time it's sort of registered. So, made to order, always hot, always fresh. It's the party starter. These are more like the functional benefits. The emotional ones being obviously crunchy, yum, busy, crispy, hot, all of those things, right? So the packaging itself is carrying so much about both functional and emotional benefits of the product and the brand that it over time sort of registers. And then obviously, what are the consumption patterns? How do you communicate? How do you showcase all of this? That then becomes like the secondary layer of communication.
and I guess one of your things that got really viral
Uh-huh.
was this branded samosa, right? Something that people were raving about.
Yeah.
Whose idea was this, right? To really
The engineer in the team.
stamp these samosas, and why?
Yeah,
Engineers making
it
samosas
started
to
with
that.
with two problems, right? Number one was we are selling different types and varieties of samosas, right? How do you differentiate which one is which? That was number one problem. Number two problem was in a country like India, samosa is a commoditized product. You will find everywhere. In Bangalore itself, there are 1,000 players that are selling samosas. In Delhi, there are let's say 1,500 players selling samosas. If you put all those samosas on a piece of table, you won't know which one is which. You won't know which one is from Samosa Party, which one is from XYZ, right? Then interesting idea came from, you see cookies, right? Each cookies have their own shape, their own, form factor, right? If you, let's say, see a Good Day or a Hide and Seek or a Britannia or a Parle G,
True, true.
you don't need wrapper. You just see a cookie and you'll know which one
Yeah,
is which,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
How can we do the same with samosas? That was the simple idea. And then we tried different things. We tried random things. We tried 3D printing. We tried laser printing.
What are
We
you
tried
saying?
a lot of things on samosas, right? And very simple thing that worked was, why don't we write the name of the samosa? It solves both the problem. It solves the functional problem of, if let's say you've ordered aloo, corn and cheese, paneer, and let's say a jodhpuri samosa, you read the name of the samosa on the samosa itself, and you know this is aloo, this
Wow.
is paneer, this
So
is corn.
obvious yet very difficult.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know,
So
when
it's an
we
execution game. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not easy to
I'm sure it is
print
known.
names on 35,000 samosas
Yeah.
every day, right?
Yeah.
So it's
But
not
each and
easy.
every samosa that goes out of Samosa Party is stamped, it's printed. You will be able to see what samosa you eating. So yeah,
My God.
that's how
No,
it
this
started.
is one thing definitely, and which is something that I also noticed the first time that I got samosas as well. Before again knowing you guys, that damn this, and we actually had ordered 3 different samosas that day, right? And it actually really helped. That okay, this is this one, this is this one, this is this one, right? No, genuine, legit, genuine thing. You have actually branded the samosa in itself.
So
Now,
who would have thought, right?
who would have thought?
You
Yeah.
can brand samosas.
Actually,
Yeah.
right?
We've
Now,
won a lot of recognition. We've won a couple of awards for that. Recently, we won at the fast food cafe convention also for the best marketing campaign for stamping our samosas.
wow, is it?
Yeah, we did.
My God. No, while I know, I guess we have been talking for more than an hour. I know the time has passed very quickly. But while we are at it, right, I genuinely want you to share where is it and how. I mean, how? Let me ask you this way: how soon do you want to capture the 6 crore, 60 million samosas that are? How soon do you want to capture that, right? And what do you have to do to really get there?
Yeah, we want to capture 1% of this market. We want to start selling 6 lakh samosas per day. We want to be there in next 5 years, I would say. That's the goal. In next 5 years, we should be selling 6 lakh samosas per day. Just 1% of the market,
How
not
long will it take you to capture 6 crore samosas? Let's say that.
yeah,
Let's just
six.
say
It's a
Yeah,
hypothetical thing,
it is
Rahul.
a
No
very
one
high.
can, right?
It's a
okay.
hypothetical question.
6
Yeah.
करोड़ तो आप नहीं कर सकते मतलब
6 crore समोसे
अमूल
बेचने
बटर
के
का
लिए
भी 80% मार्केट शेयर है 100% अमूल बटर भी नहीं है राइट
if we have to sell 6 crore samosa, then India has to consume, let's say, 100 crore samosa, right? So each and
but the
every
market is
individual
so
should.
large
Yeah.
that you know these kind of numbers like Amit said 1% translates to 1,000 crore output right and that's it. I mean we'll start with 1% and then take it from there.
The
Abhi
idea
immediate
is,
goal 1%.
to start with India, but a brand like Samosa Party and a product portfolio like ours, we see it can scale anywhere. It can be in Middle East, it can be in US, UK, Australia. It belongs anywhere. It's actually, it could be a
It's
global
a
brand.
world class case.
And like I mentioned, right, two products that we feel can scale from India for the world are, could be samosa or a biryani, because that what stands for Indianness, and people understand the product. You see the number of samosas people eat outside India. 140 countries we export samosas to. So everywhere you go, you right from Michelin star restaurant to a roadside place, samosa is recognized. From chairman to peon, everybody understands. Everybody eats samosas. It's a
It's a
very
classless product.
classless product. It's a very good leveler, right? Everybody eats samosa. कहीं भी चले जाओ, कोई भी any class, anything, people are eating samosa. People understand samosa. Even somebody who's a daily wage worker understands and eats samosa. So it's a very good leveler, and it's a great mass product. If somebody can, and if we can scale the way we want to, and nothing like that.
With this, I mean, we wish you, and again, I would want to kind of keep talking again. Talking to founders like yourself is always very intoxicating. You just don't want to stop. Like, I mean, it's just wide-eyed, blue-eyed dreams, right? So, but thank you so much,
Thank you
right?
so much.
I really
Thank you for
wish
having us.
it's genuinely a pleasure, right? I've been a fan always. It is genuinely a pleasure to really hear your story on camera, right? And I hope you guys become the samosa barons soon, right? And you take these samosas to the hinterlands of the country, that everyone knows what samosa really tastes like, not just in India but across the world as well, right? And yeah, that is it. We wish you the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rahul.
Now this group. Yeah, our part.
अरे
Very natural. I want to know if Amit smiled during the entire thing. Did he smile even once? No,
I'll
na?
tell you. Amit
क्यों
was
भाई?
just so
हाँ,
passionate,
so serious
so
and so
into it.
passionate. समोसे प्रसाद होते हैं ना तो तुमको तभी हंसी नहीं आ रही हाँ तो बस एक बार स्माइल कर तूने शुरू में ही बोल दिया कूल कैजुअल वाइब है मैं तो चिल कर रही हूँ इनफैक्ट आई एम तो वेटिंग कि मैं ऐसे करके बैठ जाऊँ से बात करूँ सो सीरियस इसका यूट्यूब में डाल देना समोसे बेच के करोड़ों की कंपनी बनाई वो बड़े वायरल होते हैं
ऐसे ऐसे होता है ना यार ये धंधा मिलते हैं भाई
यू कैन रीस्टार्ट सो दैट अमित कैन स्टॉप स्माइलिंग
I forgot something. We forgot to do a samosa toast, which is a customary with our samosa couple, samosa barons. So here's two great samosas. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much again. Enjoy these samosas. Thank you so much. Yeah, sure.